This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Good evening, guys. Welcome to, what is it, episode 97, are we? We're getting near to us 100 of the Annie's Takes That Chance podcast. And this afternoon, I was doing my prep for this podcast, and honestly, I filled a full page of things from Saturday. The vibes were good. I was ready to wax lyrical, but wow, what has happened tonight? We're back down to earth and going through this pain with me tonight. We've got Pozza, Si and Brady. And guys, what can we say? I mean, there's no point sugarcoating it. It was bad. It was shocking. It was almost Saturday didn't happen. And I think the winning thing for me that obviously we had more injuries again. Jonathan Ogg seemed he just seemed such a big miss for us, but you've got to expect better than that. I thought it was summed up beautifully with Jaden Brown. 12 minutes, see you later. Kind of, mate, Pozza, where do we start? It was crap, wasn't it, mate? And I'm back down in the dumps again, man.
Yeah, we're all a bit lacklustre on it again tonight. The thing is, like you say, similar to me, you put a few bits together before you start and stuff like that. And after Saturday, you're thinking, do you know what? Have we turned a corner? I think I remember saying on Saturday night, though, one performance like that doesn't suddenly change, 2 months of not being right good. And tonight kind of, proved that. Like you say, Jaden Brown sums it up there. What were we on? 13 minutes, you say, 2 yellow cards. Ends up getting sent off. It's another issue now we've got to contend with. Toffolo's obviously out injured, and now Brown's going to be missing. All right, 2 yellows. It's only one match, but it's just another hole to plug in it. I don't know. It's just like you say, back to how we were before Swansea, which is disappointing really, because it were poor again.
Help me, mate.
Yeah, difficult to say anything different to what yourself and Pozza described, really. I was really looking forward to tonight. Obviously, the back of Saturday's victory, I thought, we'll give it a good go. I knew there was obviously a few doubts and injuries and what have you, but I kind of felt like confidence would be up, would be on the front foot, and just overwhelmed. Such a leveller. In the same way, I didn't think Swansea were very good, and I'm sure we'll go on to discuss it on Saturday. I didn't think Derby were very good tonight. I thought we were the makers of our own downfall, if you like, conceding soft goals, and then didn't really create and kind of threaten in attack, really, which is quite sad and quite frustrating. I just found it very boring tonight. Just a boring game to watch. And whereas I think we said on our WhatsApp group, Saturday was a game as a fan you wanted to be at. You wanted to be in the cowshed singing along, kind of behind Joanne Holmes' kind of wonder strike. Quite thankful for COVID tonight and the fact that I had 35 quid and what have you on travelling down to Derby, and quite thankful of being able to, thankful of watching it, but kind of at least I was in the comfort of my own home at least.
Really, we had a right win on Saturday. We'll dissect that as well in a few days, but we've come off that, we're buzzing, we've wrecked everyone's coupon on Saturday, we've come to a team that are below us in the league. The vibe, okay, Jonathan Ogg's missing, but the energy, the vibe, we should be coming off that bus tonight, straight on the pitch. Let's get stuck in it with them. They're up to not much. Keogh used to play for Derby. Holmes used to play for Derby. They should be absolutely revved up. We should be on fire from the start. There were nothing, mate.
It's just so disappointing. I mean, like the game, like you say, Saturday and Tuesday, it's like it's a couple of days apart and they're just completely chalk and cheese. That was just terrible to watch in every way. I think what was frustrating for me was, again, it's just typical Town. We start okay, we're not amazing, but we look like the team, and then I'm sure we'll come on to it. But that what really frustrated me is, we talked about this on our preview pod. Derby are good at corners; they have interesting corner techniques. We need to watch out for that. And we looked, Sarr clears it off the line, blah, blah, blah. Campbell should clear it. And I know Kosi is not your favourite anyway, and I agree with you that he should have cleared it. It's ridiculous, but it's just poor defending. And I think the most frustrating thing about it all is it's so predictable. To me, Derby, I don't think they didn't have to work hard to win. It's just all you do with Huddersfield. We can't beat these teams that sit deep. We can't break them down. And all they have to do is wait for us to make a mistake. I mean, you see it with the second goal. It's from nothing. And I'm sure we'll come on to it, but I think I genuinely don't know what level Ryan Schofield's at. I don't know if he's a championship goalkeeper, and I think he's made a couple of bad mistakes recently. And I feel sorry for the lad, because he's a local lad and I want him to do well, but I think he's costing us points. He nearly cost us points against Swansea, if we didn't have that resurgence. And I wonder if the pressure's getting to him. I know that's harsh, because I like Schofield and I want him to do well, but I'm debating if Luke Wilder should come in for Preston, but I'm sure we'll come to it.
I think that's a theme, though. If you look at the squad, you look at that team that you put out tonight. Who will lead? Who, if you took out of that squad, would get into any other Championship side apart from maybe someone like Wickham? There's nobody in that squad.
We're in tonight.
Well, I they beat us, didn't they? So maybe not. But do you know what I mean? Normally you've got at least one or two that you can sort of pin your hat on and say at least their quality. All right, you've got maybe Lewis O'Brien, when he's on form. Toffolo's obviously injured at the moment. You could argue a case for maybe people, but apart from them three, and when they're playing really well, there's no one in that squad for me that is going to get into any other team in the Championship. And I think that, coupled with individual errors, that's another thing that we've just not ironed it out all season. If you watched a compilation of all Town's goals this season, I would bet at least 80% are down to individual errors, and that's what's costing us at the moment. Again tonight, Campbell just sort of gets to the ball a bit quick, doesn't he? So the ball's too high for him to get a decent connection on. That's a simple judgment call. He's an experienced player.
There was an error first half where there were a warning sign where Campbell were kind of by the corner flag with the guy. And the guy, I thought, there's no way the guy's getting past him, and he ended up getting past him, but that was slack. I know Schofield's kind of copping it for the goal and that as well, Poz, but my thoughts are, there were a decision to make whether he comes out or not. He didn't come out, so okay, that moment's gone. Do your job, Campbell. Ridiculous, okay, you can maybe say, well, he had done his job and then the cross, but he had all the time in the world. I've never known a team this season as much. You watch our, wingers and kind of fullbacks. We have to work his arse off to get a crossing. Everyone just gets them in any time for us. No one does any blocks or nothing. It's embarrassing, man. And
it goes back to that point Brady made about a low block. I mean, I'm just having a right quick look now. We had 65% possession with 526 passes, 88% pass accuracy. Now that to me tells me that what we've done there is we've just knocked it around a little bit. There's no sort of penetration there because there's not many risky balls being played. 88% pass completion. You look at that and think, do you know what? They've passed it really well there. Brilliant. We've probably passed it really well on his halfway line because we've got nothing to go forward. We've not got those sort of, your wingers coming in from outside and then through balls. We've not got a penetrating pass through middle. We've got no one's getting in between lines and turning on ball. So, all right, yeah, people will laud that and say, look at all your possession, look at all your passes. So what? It don't matter. You could make every single pass accurate if teams are happy to sit on edge of their own 18-yard box, two lines and a striker just sort of there blocking, obvious passes into midfield. Anybody can do that against anybody. You need to be doing that on edge of their 18-yard box in that final third, and we've not had that all season. We certainly didn't have it tonight. It were pathetic. I think their second goal as well come from a free kick set piece to us before 30 seconds later it's in back at net. And again, it's just simple stuff, isn't it? That you talk about crosses going in. It's block the cross. You taught that at junior level. What are we doing on training ground? What is Carlos doing? Yeah, all right. When we started the season, we were lauding him up as being a decent manager, but for me, there's massive questions that need to be asked of Carlos at the moment, and it's sad to do so. In his first season, well, he's not even got through a season yet, has he? But the mistakes are just repetitive all the time. And as a coach, if you can't cut that out, there's only one way it's going to end, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with that, Pozza, but I think you look at the team that ends tonight. I mean, we'll come on to Brown, but Brown, Scott High, Dehaney, Phillips, like that team, I think we've said it before, but that team's worse than Cali had, and Cali Bayliss kept us up. Like that team tonight was a B team game, it finishes. And I agree with you. I think there's questions to be asked about Carlos, but I'm sure I don't want to rant about it too much because I'm sure some Leeds Twitter will find it and clip it. But it's we knew there's so many injuries. We can talk about that and make excuses. But to me, we all knew Carlos did this intense training method. So we chose him for the most condensed season we've ever had. We're signing players who have got an injury-prone record. And then we've not got the squad to back it up. And I completely agree with you, mate. Carlos is making mistakes. We've made so many defensive errors. But who do we have on our bench that could change the game? And O'Brien, I mean, he had a great performance on Saturday, and I do want to talk about the positives and come on to it. But that team's not a good enough team. It's so unfair on those youngsters to chuck them in and expect them to change the game. And I think Carlos has got an excuse with that. It's not as good a side as it was last season. We barely stayed up last season.
A few comments already coming through. Tom made an awful performance. I think Carlos will be sacked. Matt Shaw's, I remember him? Yeah, he's talking about your rap radio. I know you fired back.
Yeah, I told him to get on this pod.
Wakey Terrier was all very laboured, as bad as it's been all season. Tom Bradshaw, boo. Another Tom. Schofield again, need a new keeper. Can't have someone who won't come and claim the ball. I think we'll discuss the keeping in a little bit more detail in a second. Phil Marston says Carlos out of his depth of the rubbish squad he has. Give him a decent squad, he'd do okay, but we need a coach who's going to get us fighting to stay up. His players don't look bothered at all. Again, HTFC, it's like the players don't know what to do against a low block. Clueless and predictable. Too many players in this squad, not good enough. Thomas Squith were awful, very poor. James Garner, Eddie Howe. I don't think so. I think he's bigger than us. Thomas Squith, we're moaning tonight, Carlos out of his depth. Why are our players getting injured so much? And Schofield looks unhappy. The goalkeeper situation is just so weird, isn't it? I mean, he was on the bench tonight when was on the bench, but we discussed it last week. Would you make the change? And also, it's just a weird thing, isn't it? I think what kind of happened maybe with Watford game and a few others and stuff. He's kind of seems to have gone from coming out to just staying on his line. Maybe he always did stay on his line, but a decision's got to be made soon, mate. I think because while I still think Campbell was the main reason why the first goal went in, that if he's more confident, maybe then that's all. I
think being a footballer, confidence is a big thing. But I think being a keeper, especially a young keeper, is you've got to be confident. We chatted last week. I think with Phil Senior about being a keeper, and you've got to be commanding. You've got to be able to bollock someone for not doing a job. You've got to be a bit of a gobshite really to be a keeper.
I think that's the problem for you, Bob. That there's not enough chatting. There's not enough kind of man management, shouting. Do you think it's obviously we want him to stop the ball going in, but do you think it's a bit more than that? He's not even giving us that. Where Hamer had been at least vocal. We're not even seeing it from Schofield, but.
I think it's something that's problem throughout the team because I think we've chatted on here before about it, and it's not almost like it's gone past being good at football now. It's just being a person and being in that mindset of pretty much everything that is going on at the moment is going wrong. You look at there's individual mistakes, there's a low confidence, there's injuries left, right, and centre. You're coming out of that game again tonight where potentially Campbell's being injured and now Brown's missing. So again, you're on back foot again. People say it's a bit of we need a break in luck. You can only be lucky. Look at the old Wagner thing: work hard. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And we don't seem to have that. We don't seem to have that drive and desire to work hard to enable us to get the luck. You could argue that we got lucky on Saturday. O'Brien's shot took a deflection. Dwayne Owen's ball just sits up nicely before he smashes it into the top corner. And on another day, that deflection don't happen and keeper picks it up. And Holmes' shot goes into Rose Head, so you could argue we've used a little bit of luck there.
When I've mentioned it before, when we win, it just seems to be like kind of picture book goals. Is this just how we are? Because I think Sheffield Wednesday we use an example where we came in, maybe ground out a win, we out playing well, and maybe I can't remember the other game that was straight after it and that as well, where again it worked pretty. But again on Saturday, the Channel 5, God, so a few years ago, that Quest the video, it's a picture book one in it on the video and stuff. And while it makes good on the Instagram and what have you, I don't. We either fantastic, sexy football, scoring brilliant goals, or absolute turgid. I'd love a bit of in between, and I don't think Carlos can seem to get that from us. Can't with all the injuries, obviously, as well, and not helping.
We talk about injuries, and I'll shut up in a minute because I know I've sort of ranted on a little bit, but we've talked about injuries before, but a lot of the injuries, or most of the injuries, seem to happen on training ground. So they're not like players are getting crunched in games and being out with a broken leg or a bruised leg or they've flown down wing and pulled an hamstring. Everyone seems all right in matches, and then we come to the next match and all of a sudden there's injuries. So to me that begs the question: what is actually going on in training? And there's only one man to point a finger at that. It's all right saying we need players, and we do. But if you're a chairman and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, every player that I give you ends up getting injured, what are you doing to prevent these injuries? I know people will say chairman shouldn't be going down to training ground and seeing what's going on and stuff. But at the end of the day, he employs Carlos to do a job. If his training methods aren't suitable for the players and they're getting injured because of them, that needs addressing.
Also, why aren't they ever getting asked in a post-match interview or a Zoom call that they had before the game? I don't ever hear this being addressed, but yet one by one we seem to be just like losing players. And unfortunately, this the Toffolo one's like 6 weeks. Schindler looks like good night Vienna. Sadly for forever. It looks like obviously Corona's off for a bit. We're not talking 1 or 2 weeks. Well, 1 or 2 of them have obviously, and Ben's are back tonight, but. These are long-term things, mate. And
look at Benza though. How fit is he? Is he match fit? He's already said that he's played a couple of weeks when he's not match fit. He's then got injured, and now he's come back on as a sub. He ain't fit, is he? Let's be fair. He's playing because we haven't got anybody else. That's long and short of it with Benza. And as a championship club, after I know we keep saying it after being in Premier League and all that, but to have such a weak lack of quality in the squad and any sort of strength in depth is just pathetic. It's just everything at the moment in time just seems to be like half-assed. It's like we'll struggle through best we can, and we'll hope for this and we'll hope for that, and we might get lucky. There's no like this is what, and this comes from top to this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is the money to do it. Get on with it. We can't do this. We want to do this, but we can't. We thought about doing this, but we couldn't. We'll get a striker in January, but I know we won't bother. Then we'll go after about 8,000 free transfers who nobody else wants. Oh, well, we can't get in because you can't get a visa. Oh, we can't do this because of that. It's pathetic, isn't it? It's just crap.
So I think Pozza's kind of said a lot there, but it's really weird because it's like the game on Saturday against Swansea was almost like a bit of a dream sometimes, like 50. Did that really happen? This is kind of just par for the course. What's happened now? It was just maybe a mad 15 to 20 minutes. And again, I don't like digging it. When we've had a good win, I don't like digging into stuff to try and kind of pull it down because it what it was, an amazing win against a top team. But I think it's so worrying to me that none of the traits there. There were no evidence that we'd won that game on Saturday tonight, because you could see there were a bit of an arm wrestle first 15 minutes tonight. I thought we were all right without looking like, kind of going to do anything. Obviously, Campbell probably should have scored for me, good save, but you could see him gradually getting on top. And once they were on top side, you knew at half time, I didn't see us, coming back second half, and they got the second and we were done. And it's, wow, I just don't know what to say anymore because...
Yeah, and I agree with kind of everything you've said there, because I think if we take it back to Saturday and Swansea to start with, there were quite a few positives for me. I thought we saw Brian playing the heart of midfield, his driving runs forward was really good to see. A little bit of a throwback to last season when he was at his best. I don't think he's quite reached that level yet, but certainly more effective in that position than perhaps what it had been, or certainly what it had been at left back. I think I was pleased to see Carlos implement a 3-5-2 formation. I think that made us much more defensively at least solid. Vallejo obviously playing the right-hand side of the three. That seemed to work well. And unfortunately, they had to change that then tonight and move Vallejo out and Dehaney in, which may have been one of the kind of contributing factors to why tonight didn't quite work. But we certainly started bright, and then they on Saturday, and then the inevitable happened. We conceded just on the stroke of half time, and kind of sensed again maybe Schofield slightly at fault for that goal. Was the wall in the right place? Should it have been a 3-4-man wall? We kind of knew what Hurricane was going to do at that point. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you don't really like to see your keeper getting beaten there. And then I feared the worst for us going into the second half, but we kind of came out and we had 10, 15 minutes, as Paul says, really, really good. Got 3 goals, sorry. And then the game was then never in doubt. I thought Swansea were quite poor in truth. I expected so much more from Swansea, given where they are in the league and the form table. They didn't create anything. They didn't look threatening. Perhaps a bad day at the office for them. And probably a good day at the office for us, but it certainly wasn't all our doing, and it certainly probably wasn't maybe as good a performance as what the scoreline in isolation might have you believe. And then forgive me, I'll come on to it tonight. You'd hope some of those traits would kind of carry through, but they didn't, did they? We kind of looked back to how we were big previously. I think the 3-5-2 on this occasion didn't work, and I think just to come back on what he spoke about on Schofield, Brady. I think I said on this podcast last week, I wanted him to see him retain his number one position. I think I said we expect him to make mistakes through this season. He's been a young goalkeeper, but maybe on reflection, I'm starting to change my mind. I'm not so sure. I think that the difference perhaps now to when he first came into the team is that opposition clubs and analysts are identifying his weaknesses. They're identifying the fact that he's not good with aerial balls into the box at angles. He's weak at coming for crosses, and I think they're pinpointing and targeting that now. And
Ty, would you make the change Saturday?
Would I make the change? It's difficult to say. I'll be open honest with you. I've got no idea how good Rottweiler is. I know kind of opposition fans speak quite highly of him, where he's been previously, Blackburn, Fleetwood, etc. I think to probably give him 1 or 2 more games to go field personally.
Brady, would you make the change?
Out of my head.
Yeah, I would. I really want Schofield to do well. I know he's a local. Is he local? No, he's a local lad. And to be fair, when he first came in, he was a great shot stopper. But I make the point, and I think this is with a lot of the youngsters. I don't really know what level they're at because we've not seen him, and it's the same with Schofield. There's parts of his game that I think, he is a championship goalkeeper. Like I said, a shot stopper, he makes some great saves. But you can tell the confidence is getting to him. And to be fair to him, our defence is shocking anyway, so I won't feel too confident. But
we're not a tall team, though, Brady. That's one point I wanted to make. When you look at the team tonight, probably maybe kind of jumping to conclusions here, but you've got Sarr, Keogh, and probably Vallejo above 6 foot, and then everyone else below. And when you kind of come up against teams like Luton, like Derby to an extent tonight, kind of we haven't really got any commanding headers of the ball.
Yeah,
catch and Brady, whatever you want.
No, I think I agree with you, mate. But I think it's bad and bad, isn't it? Like we've got a bad defence, and then our keeper's been a bit dodgy. So it's like the defence won't feel confident about Schofield, and Schofield won't feel confident about Sarr and Keogh. And for me, I would put Rottweiler in. I think it is harsh on Schofield, but I've got to be honest. In that Swansea game, when the free kick, Hurricane is great at free kicks, but he's going to shoot. Schofield could do better there. I thought we were going to lose points. Swansea didn't turn up on the day. We had a great 10-minute spell where we blew them away. We could have easily drawn or lost that game, if that spell didn't happen. I know there's a lot of ifs. Again, you look at the goals tonight. Yes, Campbell makes that mistake, but again, should Schofield do better? Maybe I'm being harsh on him because it's quite close for the first goal. Second goal, poor defending, but Schofield gets a hand on it and it doesn't do enough to push it away. Again, maybe I'm being harsh, but
Brady, there's no point bringing in Rottweiler, mate, if they're not going to play him. I know he would. Yeah. He shot out there. I remember a quote from him saying, I'm here to kind of pass my experience on. But no, mate, we had a kind of backup keeper anyway in Pereira, obviously.
What was the point of bringing him in, Kosi?
Exactly.
What's he contributed to the club? He sat on the bench. He can't even get on the bench half the time. What a poor signing that's been from a loan point of view.
Was that Pereira?
Yeah. Surely there must have been someone out there who could have done more of a job than what he's done and challenged more. There's times where, like I say, he's not been on the bench. He obviously didn't have a confidence in him to be the number 2 keeper, which is why we went and signed Liversedge. What a poor decision that's proven to be.
He seems to be such a loyal coach, though, does Carlos Pozza, to me, and these guys that'll kind of, get games after game. I mean, bring another
There's
guy.
no one else to play, mate, that's why.
As I'm going to mention here, but again, he just wound me up tonight, Bakuna. He gets in that box, second half. Why is he back healing that? Get it in. Get it in the box, man.
Bakuna, man.
He's got his own agenda. He don't give a shit.
Does what he wants.
Yeah. But he gets picked every week, so he's going to keep doing it, innit? He's going to keep doing it. Get him out, man. Get someone else in.
Who do you bring in, though? Because genuinely, if you took Bakuna out, who would you play? Bearing in mind who was available. Is there anyone, is there? I mean, it's like tonight, though. We've just been chatting, though, about, Schofield and defence and not being confident and stuff like that. We've just chatted about Swansea. Defence looked good, that back three, Blaow, Keogh, Sarr. And you think, do you know what? That's a really good foundation, is that we've played well, and then Johnny Ogg's missing tonight. So what has he done? He's taken Blaow out and put him in midfield and brought in, Duane. Why not leave that area alone for a bit and bring in and just play someone like Scott High in middle? If these kids are good enough, why are we not looking at that? But I think you bang right, talking about players like Bakuna and stuff like that, because there is literally no one else available. You look at that, you look at squad tonight, and it's on bench you've got your keeper, you've got Pritchard, less said about him the better. You've got Stearman returning from an injury, and Benza probably 25% fit. Thomas, I don't even know who he is. Jayden Brown coming back from injury. Edmonds Green, all right, he's done all right when he's come on. Phillips, cameo appearance up at Middlesbrough, did all right. Didn't do much wrong against Swansea, but again, he's not championship ready. He's not championship quality. And then Scott High, again, a young lad coming through. These are the games to be. That bench needs to be stronger. It's beyond that. Who else have you got? Sure. Do you know what I mean? That first 11 on that bench, I couldn't name another player who plays for that squad who's not injured.
It's getting to a stage now. What hope do we have? It's getting to a stage now. I mean, I don't go on our Twitter much anyway, but I dare listen to a press conference on a Thursday or a Friday or a Monday or whenever it is, because who's injured next? I mean, I could not believe yesterday Toffolo. It's incredible, and I've never known a season.
That one, Kosi, we'd apparently, if I understand correctly, we'd appealed not his red card, but we appealed the severity of the ban. So say it should be a 3-game ban because it wasn't intentional. But if he was injured anyway, what's the point of the ban?
Has he been injured for a bit? Then I don't know.
In the comments, Corbin said he was injured. I think he injured during the game or before that game.
Luton?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Jesus.
He said something like he's got that character, didn't he, that he wanted to play, so he played it.
Oh dear.
I mean, to answer the Bakuna question, it's disappointing because I thought he was actually quite good against Swansea. But yeah, to be honest, I think the only senior person you could bring in to replace him is Pritchard, and we all know what he's done. So again, I don't want to make excuses, but like we all know the squad ain't good enough, and I'm sure we'll come on to the people we've been linked with. And I really do think like it's beggars can't be choosers, unfortunately. Like, I think
we're there, Brady.
We are like Sonogo and Morrison. Like if they're coming in, like I don't think they're the best signings, but I literally think we just need another striker. Like, and we need another midfielder. Like it doesn't matter who it is, we just need 2 extra bodies.
Look at Kosi. He's got training gear on tonight, mate.
Get him on.
Window, Kosi. You give him a call after this, mate. I tell you.
Well, Booby's doing that beer and banter. Get him on. Get him back in.
The one thing that must hurt, though, I mean, I don't care what you say, but like when we give away bad goals, like that's why I thought it was really impressive on Saturday that, I mean, Swansea scored it was a brilliant free kick, but again, it hurts you because you think, bloody hell, we shouldn't be conceding that. And it's a bit like tonight when Campbell, you think, I know goals are scored, whatever, but some of our goals seem to come from mistakes, and maybe my character's a bit different, but I'd be like, here we go again, just like, it would get me so mad. And then if I'm a player and seen Bakuna do that, I'd be like, fucking hell, Baka, what are you doing, man, and stuff. And don't get me wrong, you watch like some of the top teams have players who don't really do much going back, but they can create something going forward and stuff, and kind of a genius, a maverick player. And you think you can kind of let him get away with it and stuff like that as well. I used to remember that guy from, he played at Middlesbrough and Bristol City. He was really, really good. He was kind of a big guy. He was in midfield. He used to create and score a lot of goals, but he didn't really kind of work hard and someone like that. I better think of his name before I come back. But it's just like that kind of stuff for me won't get team morale going, because it's like
there's no way I could play alongside someone like Bakuna, because I'd throttle him, because he'd just do me head in. Brady said Dave played all right against Swansea. Yeah, he did. We were winning 4-1. Tell you what, some Bakuna up in that match, that shot, he bounced across him to edge at box, and he had all time in world. And I think Matt Glennon even called it that. He said it's like a lazy strike, and he cut across ball and it flew wide. And you're thinking a decent player there. He either takes a touch, he takes a touch, he's 16, 17 yards out, and he smashes it in top corner, and it were almost like can't be asked. And that's at 4-1 up. So you're playing players like Bakuna in a relegation battle. It's absolutely no good whatsoever to play.
I think his contract's up as well in summer, so it's like.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit, does he? Let's be honest.
I think he needs to move on. The most frustrating thing about Bakuna, I think I've said this before, but
Lee Tomlin, someone's mentioned it. That's mine. I'm sorry, Brady.
No, that's fine, mate. Go for it. I think the most frustrating thing about Bakuna to me is like you said, that Swansea game when he does play all right and does play well. Like, if Bakuna was consistent, he genuinely would be a 10, 50, those performances where if he did that every week, he's a 15, 20 million pound player, but he just doesn't do it every week. He's just so inconsistent. And I know we've made a habit of saying like, oh, these players are rubbish. And but he's so frustrating because you can see he has the talent, but it just doesn't get applied every game. And I do, his contract's up in the summer, and I think it's best for everyone if he does start somewhere
Maybe
new.
high over Bakuna, Tom Bradrose saying? High over Bakuna?
I think Bakuna's been best when the best we've seen of Bakuna was when Cali added him as a sub in that season, and he had that. And I think he needs to, I would start high. I don't know how good high is. We've not seen enough of him, but if that snaps Bakuna into gear and thinks he's not a guaranteed start, then yeah, why not? I don't know. It's just maybe Pritchard. I know Pritchard's terrible, but been terrible for Town. But
let's have a positive few minutes, guys. Aaron Rowe. So obviously we were on here after Middlesbrough. Look what he did. Game started against Swansea. We were kind of wanting a few changes, and okay, maybe not so much tonight, but on Saturday, Poz, it was just so refreshing, wasn't it, to see a guy with no fear, 100% Huddersfield Town, just like kind of just enjoying himself, mate, on that, on that left-hand side. I absolutely love what he did, and it just proved to me that, it got me a bit mad, because I kind of spoke to Radio Leeds after, and, people are saying, well done, Carlos, it was a great move, but my argument was, hang on a minute, mate, I thought he did well against Plymouth and gives us bits and bats when we've seen him. He should have been on before, but I suppose what we saw on Saturday, mate, he should be involved a lot more now between now and May, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I like him. Your little reminder of who that player is. It's just reminded me it's Sorba Thomas, isn't it, who were on bench tonight. So yeah. I do know who he is. But yeah, just coming back to Rowe, I thought, I agree, against Middlesbrough, he looked bright. Got on ball, obviously a very confident young lad. He's willing to run at people. Yeah, he's not the finished article by any stretch of imagination. He put a few balls in that left a lot to be desired. But
where would you play him?
Once he received it again, he got on it again. And
where would you have him? He's played quite a few positions, hasn't he, for us, all over scattered about.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, it's hard to say because I've not really seen him play as much. But if we had a full squad available and you've got wingers available, could he do a job in as a number 10? Where Pritchard get that ball to him, and can he run central and get some shots off, because we seem to really lack that sort of area at the moment. And you could look to have Karoma one side and Ben's the other side when obviously they're fit. And I think as a 3 behind a 1, that potentially work quite well, but it depends on formations. It depends on who's available. As to where somebody like Rowe would fit in, but. It was just nice and refreshing to see a young lad play without fear, I suppose. He's not got any predetermined opinions from fans. He's not played in a losing side regular, so his mindset would probably be a little bit different. And what has he got? He's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Any of these young lads that are coming through, Phillips, Brady's mentioned about Scott High. But the only problem with playing those sort of players at the moment is when you're on a bit of a run like Town. I always think it's really difficult to put in young players because you're almost hanging them out to dry a little bit. It's a really easy excuse as well. Oh, look how young they are. They're not ready for this sort of fight. And you're thinking, well, if they're not ready, don't play them kind of thing. But on the flip side, they've got nothing to lose. They can come out and try things that another player might not be confident, bag a couple of goals, put in a decent shift, and, your stock's a little bit higher than what it was without playing. So it's a fine edge, isn't it, with young players and chucking them in. It's nice to be able to bring them into a team that's playing with a bit of confidence. Doing well.
I wish he'd have knocked the ball in a bit more and early from the left to give Phillips a chance today, but I suppose just being a young player is going to get that. Just going back onto Bacuna, I haven't seen this today, but Shackle says, I saw an article this morning linking Bacuna with a $5 million move to Rangers. I'll drive him there myself.
I'm sure we'd all chip in petrol money for you there.
Think Steven Gerrard will put up with that, Poz? You what? There'd be violence, man, in that dressing room. That just seemed a weird rumour, that, but I suppose...
He is in a team like Rangers, though, where they're constantly winning. He probably would do all right because he's that sort of player.
We've had his fingers burned on highlight reels before, mentioning no names. But if you put a Bacuna highlight reel on YouTube and sold it to a few agents and that, there'll be people... but they don't know the story.
Yeah, he's definitely got the potential. He's definitely got the ability. I've always said that about Bacuna. He has got ability. He just doesn't channel it right. He's like a petulant kid. That's the way that I would describe him.
Si, let's not forget Saturday happened, but Lewis O'Brien on Saturday, mate, it were like the Lewis O'Brien of last season and the Lewis O'Brien probably at Bradford as well. His goal was classic Lewis O'Brien. I love what he did, bombing forward. But again, he moved into his better position, and we need that Lewis O'Brien back, don't we, mate, for this running big time. I think he's got to really chime for us to kind of get these 14 points we need, really.
Yeah, it's pivotal. And when we've spoke about injuries and all those that have had injuries or currently injured, he's one that by and large I think has played pretty much every minute of every game so far this season, and that will be key for us to kind of maintain that position in the league. It's clear that kind of central midfield is a position he's played all his career, and it's one where he thrives. He's so good when he gets on the ball and drives forward and kind of runs at people. You feel like something's about to happen. He's got a wonderful left foot, kind of, and a few goals in him as well. So just hope that can continue, really, and hopefully kind of Hogg can come back pretty quickly, and them two can form that kind of deep two, if you like, in the midfield. I think just back on the Bacuna conversation, the one player who certainly at the start of the season I thought would be involved a bit more than what he has been is Matty Daly. He arguably could play the most advanced that midfield three. That's where he's played largely in his career or as a number 10. But he's someone who seems very much out of favour at the moment. I don't know if he's not quite up to living up to his perhaps reputation beforehand or the promise that he once showed. But he's been in and around the team kind of like probably for 2 seasons now, kind of maybe 3 seasons, back when kind of Wagner took him to Austria, and he never really broke through. But if it's not Scott High, then maybe it's him we see a little bit more of. But yeah, just to come back to your point, because I completely agree. O'Brien needs to be 100% fit for one, and then kind of will be pivotal in the remaining games.
It's a classic team that's struggling, Poz. We're just talking about changing this and changing that, and I'm going to throw some kind of more things in the mix now. So there's a defence, I don't know, the second goal debate, Sa, I don't think Sa comes over glory. Keogh, it was awful, wasn't it? I mean, we're not talking about a top class striker there, are we? Kind of steaming through Martin Wagon. He's like over 30 now, isn't he, in that as well. But the big question is, mate, Edmonds, Green, Stearman, they're kind of waiting in the wings again. Would you freshen it up, mate? Would you change it? Because I think I would,
Yeah, I mean, I was discussing Keogh with a few mates whilst game we're on, to be fair.
You did one podcast with Derby Pods, didn't you? What were they saying when you did the Derby thing?
we had a little chat before, we went on air, and they were big supporters of Keogh. They saw that he were, opinion of solid sort of Championship centre half, and obviously what happened at Derby happened, and dropped down to MK Dons. But they were, sort of surprised that he'd come in, and not made much of, not much impact, because at Derby that's what he did. He organised, and
not seen
he showed it up, and then. They sort of asked me what my opinion of him were, and as you know, on here, I said he were an understandable sort of signing, and on paper he did look like that. But again, it's just not worked out, has it? And you've got to start thinking why. I think since he's come, on average he's conceding 1.6 goals every game. He's not kept a clean sheet since he's been with us. You're talking about changing again. You look at that triangle, don't you? Your keeper and your two centre halves. Do you change all three? And then that's another new setup that we've had. We must have had the back line must have changed so many times this season. It's not really that hard to work out why we seem really frail, defensively. If you look through, I think Chokin did a combination of who's played and who hasn't, and did some analysis on that quite a while ago. It would be interesting to see a more up to date version of that, but. If Keogh's conceding 1.6 goals on average every 90 minutes, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Drop him, don't play him. But then you've got to make sure that whoever comes in ain't going to be any worse. So, for me, if Stearman's 100%, do you bring Stearman in for Keogh? Do you bring Edmonds-Green in for Sarr? But then you've got two brand new centre-halves playing in front of Schofield. Is that going to do him any good? They're all... It's all right changing this and changing that and changing other, but sometimes just getting a settled, and it's easy to suggest changes because people are doing well, so the easiest thing to do is to get rid of them and bring someone else in, but is a settled defence worth persevering for in the hope that it comes good at some point? But then again, you've got to look at injuries, haven't you, again, because every time we look like we've got a reasonable setup, someone gets injured. And just coming on to injuries again, I've just been reading some of the comments on YouTube, and I wasn't aware of this until not a couple of weeks ago. But the backroom medical staff has changed. John Iger's gone out, and then his team has gone and been replaced with somebody else, Callum Walsh. There's Chris Meehan and Matt Shaw chatting about it on there, and could that be a factor on why? Injuries, you don't know what's going on there, do you? But John Iger were there when Wagner were there, I believe, and we seemed to play a very similar style, intense football, and we didn't suffer injuries much then. So has there been some words between Iger to Carlos saying doing this is no good, and a bit of stubbornness saying, well, I'm carrying on anyway. Again, that's something else to debate, I suppose. But
I think he left when Cowley left, didn't he? I'm pretty
sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But like I said, I didn't know it even gone until a couple of days ago. But weeks ago.
Tom said that we'd probably look at as most decent-ish, if that's such a word. Edmonds-Green and Sarr, you kind of were paired up on that as well, and maybe that's one he can maybe go back to. I think the big problem that you've got, I think, Preston North End away, everyone knows what we get there, and even though they're in a shocking form, we always up with 0, and on tonight's evidence, you won't back out else, but next Tuesday night is absolutely massive.
Birmingham, yeah.
It is I hate to say this, it sounds negative, it's a must-not-lose game for us, especially in front of them. And, they've lost tonight, but they're playing Norwich, so no shame in that. See Rotherham's game tonight, but at the moment, if you ask me if we're going to go down, I'm just like, I'm probably 60-40 against it, but if that Birmingham result doesn't go our way next kind of Tuesday night, then I'm worried. But Carlos is copping for a lot of stick on the comments, and obviously, with our 4 managers are the ones that get it. But really, the squad is poor. He's so crap in it, mate. I don't think even Pep could.
No, I
any of this.
To be honest, I don't want to be one of those like clickbait, but I think you could put Prime Maldini in this team and we'd still lead goals. Like I think it's just. Well, Pozza said it the other day when I was listening to the pod you were on last week. Like we've lost. This league's so wide open. Like we've lost 23 points from winning positions. I'm not saying let's say we win all 23 because we wouldn't. But like if we won 10, we'd be in a much better position. And what's really frustrating is we're so near yet so far, if you know what I mean. Like, there's not, you see games like Swansea and you're like, if we can just put a run together, and then we don't against Derby. Again, I think it's just, weirdly, I feel like you say, we got Birmingham, we got Preston. I think we've got Brentford in the next 6 games. I'd fancy us to beat Brentford than I would more than Birmingham, and that's ridiculous. Like, but I think going on to Chicken, I think he posted something about how we've beaten more teams in the top 8 than we've beaten like teams in mid-table and like lower down, and like. The issue, I suppose the issue you could say about Town is like we've been in relegation scraps now for a long time, and like when it comes down to it, do they have the bottle? Well, yes, because in the big games or the games where they're not expected to win, like West Brom last season, they do it. But we remember Luton, last season. We remember Wickham this season. Like they almost like, again. I wonder if we need to talk about a mentality thing as well, because we've got almost, I think of the team that started tonight, there's not really many people that were in the team last season. And is it a mentality issue? I think it is. And there needs to be big changes in the summer. I wasn't on it last week when we were talking about Phil's statement, but his comments really concerned me. And I'm a bit. I've got to be honest. I'm a bit concerned about Huddersfield going forward. Like in general. Even if we do stay up, there's nothing I've seen to reassure me that it's going to be a good season next season. If we do stay up.
I was going to kind of come on to that, Brady. You kind of must have read my mind, but it's here we go again. Season petering out. Well, not petering out. Winning a relegation battle, losing games. The fans are restless. We keep hearing in the summer, Pritchard will be gone, Bakuna gone, and a chance to change it. But it just feels like deja vu, mate. And I'm always one that backs a manager. I'm never one to.
Oh no, you're positive, mate. Honestly.
Yeah, I like Carlos, but it just worries me, mate. And I think the last few days have just summed up the club to me. It's don't get me wrong, we all bloody got carried away on Saturday. And a lot of
course we did.
Let's have a beer. But I think the club gone from, we were going nuts on this. We've mentioned it before, haven't we? Social media, just like ridiculous reels of this, that, and the other. I sometimes wonder if the players believe it,
I know we give the club a lot of stick, but I tell you what, I would not want to be the commentary guys tonight, because can you imagine watching that and trying to be positive about that? Same with social, like... I don't. That's a hard job.
Si, are you worried? Are you just thinking, let's get through the end of the season and we go again? But like Brady says, it can't even in your mind. We thought that last season, and we thought that when we were the Premier League, when we were going down. It's was my language, but it's just here we go again, isn't it?
It's a bit deja vu. I'm as confident as I can be right now that we'll survive this season. We'll stay up in the Championship. I think currently, as things stand, with 7 points above the relegation zone, which on one hand doesn't sound very much. On the other hand, actually that's quite a gap to the bottom three. By hook or by crook, will probably be some weird results, and we probably will pick up some more performances between now and the end of the season. Maybe when you're doing this podcast next week, and I don't think I'm on next week, if we've lost to Birmingham, I might be eating my words. But you're right. I think kind of next season does concern me. What's the ambition? What do we want to achieve? And right now, and some of the signings that have perhaps been made in January, you think kind of aren't necessarily going to be ready for next season. People like Sorpa Thomas, etc. Some of the players, as kind of Brady alluded to, have been linked with as kind of free transfers, are unlikely to be around next season. And if they are, they don't scream ambition. They don't scream players that are going to kind of compete towards the top half of the table. And you do kind of sense we'll be back to where we were kind of, 4 years ago under Chris Powell, kind of competing for 17th, 18th, 19th in the Championship, which is one hand really frustrating, another hand kind of really sad. And I hope I'm proved wrong, but it's going to take a massive overhaul of that squad.
Sanogo, Morrison for you, Si? Sanogo in, just to end the season again. We've touched on it. Like with you, Brad, I was saying we're desperate. We need a striker in, but it's what. I mean,
yeah, I think what's frustrating is the lad who we were linked with from Luton. I won't attempt to pronounce his name. He's bagged tonight and kind of obviously contributed. I think they were winning 1-0 when I last looked. any kind of sense, should we have kind of, not saying broke the bank, but whatever we were talking, £750,000, £1 million, that's a player there who we could have had for kind of 2.5, 3 years, who might have gone on to kind of be someone of the kind of Carl and Grant mould, who we could have then sold for millions of pounds in years to come. Yaya Sonego is not going to be that player. He's going to be here and gone. And for me, it's just quite underwhelming, really. I imagine he'll be quite unfit. He won't have played a lot of football, and he's going to take a while to go up to speed. And I think he'll be injured before he plays for us, to be honest.
Looking at that run about signing that Ravel Morrison, the man we're playing in a poker tournament for Lad Bible over the weekend. Is that the sort of player that we are now sort of looking to sign? A man who is playing poker for an online clickbait Facebook page.
Did he win? Because we might need one.
I think he got injured, so we'll probably sign him.
Mate, he could have done better than Jaden Brown's 18 minutes, even on his poker, hasn't he?
I mean, I know we're joking about it, but, Brady said the words, we'll take anyone. What a pathetic position to be in, where we're just accepting basically anybody.
It's because the window's shut, pause.
No, but do you know what I mean, though? As a championship football club, we're not Liversedge, where we will basically, scrapping around for anyone. We're a championship football club, and we're not like a Wickham championship football club who are, and let's be no disrespect to them, but they're a small championship club, aren't they? Let's say I would say Town was sort of historically an established championship club, and we've got to the point where we're scratching around for a free transfer and anyone that is willing to come, or we can get a visa for, or get a bloody Arriva bus ticket to bloody training ground. It's pathetic, isn't it? And a bloody, as you know, because the Arriva bus probably won't turn up to bring him anyway. But
you'd be tweeting about it if it didn't. But someone's mentioned
pathetic, though, isn't it? It's pathetic.
Someone's mentioned on our feed that Robin must have been a problem with the medical. I think with Leo's, but
there you go. Probably get a 3-year contract if he's half injured.
So, suppose moving it on, some good news, but an interesting thing, obviously, for the club. So, obviously, great news yesterday. Fingers crossed, in May, or maybe not fingers crossed if you're Phil Hodgkinson, but fans are going to be back in the stadiums and etc. But the interesting thing I thought the club tweeted was there's going to be an announcement in the next few days with season cards, and it's going to be interesting, Poz, isn't it? I don't know what your view is, but obviously Phil said he would, if he bought a season ticket this year, kind of hold the price what than it for 2 years. But my thoughts are, I think it's a real catch-22 in it, because the club needs the money. But I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute here. I've paid for my money this year. What we've got, iFollow and a few digital programs in it. What would it, a shirt and a thing and what have you, and that as well. Okay, it is what it is, but I don't know how I'm feeling that. Maybe I'm being a bit kind of unrealistic, but I'm wanting to see a little bit more. Maybe there will be from the club, but as we've talked about before, the club doesn't seem to be on the wavelength of the fans. It'll be interesting what they announce, but at the moment, it's, if you ask a number of people I'm speaking to, and because I'm buzzing to get back in the ground, because I'll watch any old football, as you know, but I'm speaking to so many other people that are just not giving a toss. And when they're asked to buy a season card, when you're watching stuff like tonight, who's going to want to buy it, Potts? You're only going to want to buy it because we haven't been there for a season and a half. That ain't a reason to buy a season card, is it? And then you've also got your loyal people. I think the club's got a bit of an issue coming up. It'd be interesting to see how they handle it, mate.
Yeah, I must admit, if I were a club, I'd probably hang fire on any announcements just for another couple of weeks in hope that we might have a Swansea result, and I'd be banging it out immediately after that, just as any sort of feel-good factor. But I think you're right. I mean, obviously, I'll get one, I'll take my boys, because it's what you do in it. It's what you do on a Saturday afternoon. You go and meet your mates, and you have, hopefully be able to have a couple of pints and get back to football as it used to be. But I think this break in football has probably opened people's eyes. Football, it's a very habitual thing. You go because you've always gone, and there's been a big break in that. And people who, were, I won't say, it's really hard to phrase stuff like this in it, but those people that kind of just went and they enjoyed going, but they didn't sort of bother about result for weeks on end like some. And I think those people, have found something else to do. And also, like you say, if you've just watched this season on iFollow, are you going to stump up a fair chunk of money when economic climate is not the best for a large percentage of the population at the moment. It's going to be really difficult. And the club did say they were going to freeze prices, but there's absolutely no way that they might have to relook at how they do it, because they certainly can't put them up for anybody who's not had one this season. I don't know, maybe they do an half price one if you had one this season and keep it, whatever it was, $250 for anybody else kind of thing. But I think you're right. I think they'll have a big shock, because we've got used to 18,000-ish season ticket sales of the Premier League, and more than that, and then Championship. But even if we stay up this season, I think they'll be lucky. We will be back down to what we used to sell, sort of 10,000-12,000 for me. And then obviously if we start doing well, your walk-ups can come in. But they've got to get this right, because it's all right film moaning and saying we haven't had any money because COVID. Well, once COVID finishes, if nobody turns up anyway, they're going to be in the same situation, aren't they? So to me, the club have got to start proving to people. They've got to dangle that carrot in front of a lot of people's faces. And again, it's that this is what we're going to do. They're good at saying what they're going to do and what they hope will happen. They need to start following through and making it happen.
Si, what's your thoughts, mate? I mean, you'll be buying one, but it's there's a lot of people saying here that they're kind of not going to be getting one. But a number of people I've spoken about lockdown, the first thing they're just going to go in the pub and just drink. I think there's so many, like you said, Pozza, there's people who will be doing the momentum's been totally lost. Seasons of struggle. Obviously, we have been in, and I could be totally wrong if they come out and the 250 or 200 or whatever they are, we're not going to get the numbers obviously we got for the the 2 Premier League seasons, even that first one in the Championship. But I don't know. I'm just gauging that people are just Huddersfield Town and people, the love affairs going, mate.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people might do what they did, I believe, with this season, wait right to the last minute. I think as good as kind of, and this is maybe my just personal view, as good as the roadmap that Boris has shared with the country, obviously, last night, for me, it feels a little bit too good to be true right now. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I think some people will hold off to see the situation in kind of the start of August and understand how likely it is they'll be able to get into stadiums and whether they'll be at full capacity or not, because I'm not 100% convinced the stadium will be full of kind of 18,000, 19,000 people, whatever it may be.
It won't be full with that many folks.
Big away following.
Yeah.
But I missed it. I missed going to the games. I missed going with my mates, kind of having a couple of drinks, like you say, catching up with them. For me, it's a little bit as much about the football as it is about kind of just being a social occasion opportunity to kind of catch up with some friends, like I say. But there'll be a lot of people who perhaps fallen on quite hard times throughout the pandemic, who kind of, whatever the price may be, could be quite a lot of money to them, and who have discovered new routines and new hobbies and that sort of stuff as well. So, let's wait and see. I think they'd be daft to go north of 250. Let's see.
Brady, any different thoughts to the guys?
To be honest, I think it's one of them that's frustrating. I agree with Si. I think we'll have to wait and see. Luckily, the season, what was the proposed date? The 21st of June, when life will be back to normal. At least that gives us a bit of time for the next season to see what's happening.
Back to normal tonight, Brady. It's back to normal tonight.
Exactly. I think for me, regardless of price, I think it's been a good. That was something I could, when we're in the Premier League, like you were like, oh, this is what's great about our club. They do care about us fans and not going to price us out. I think COVID's affect things. I think they need the money. But I think for me, if you're just thinking of it as an investment, if I'm investing, I will get a season ticket because I miss going there. And I think the clubs know that, and they know fans will pay tickets. But if I'm paying 250 quid, I want to see investment in the team. I think a lot of fans have a right to say, if we're going to, we had 11,000 people pay for season tickets this season, and that's an amazing, commitment from the fans, because we haven't been to a game. And I don't know how many people did refunds. That's a separate thing, but I kept it, and because I want the club to do well. I think next season, if we don't see this investment, in the team, in the squad, like it's kind of, well, obviously I go with my stepdad. It's like a day out. It's all a bit, but like that doesn't feel to me like I'm getting getting more value from the club. You know, they will have the money. Hopefully COVID will be better, but this summer's huge, and I don't want to bum us all out a bit more, but like, I am wanting to be positive and say, well, it's a difficult season, COVID, you know, with all these signings, but all these big wages are going off. And I think if fans are going to commit, we need to see commitment from the board.
I totally agree. And I think you made a good point there, and Pozza as well, is that I think people are just going to wait and wait and wait because here, like you said there, Si, we're going to get back in. There's no guarantees that, you know, obviously Boris is championed it, but you'd like to think August, but maybe they're not. So what is the incentive to get straight away? I don't know if there's going to be like amazing deals, but a lot of people probably think, let's see the ambition, because it's been said on it. A lot of people, this is it now. Finally, the big earners have gone. I think a lot of people are going to wait and wait and wait. And like I say, they might no guarantees we might be in August and stuff. So it's an interesting one. But I think we're going to end now on the, it could be a really sad moment, really. So we've talked about not getting back in the ground this season. Christopher Schindler, a man who obviously we should probably have had a statue for what he'd done for Huddersfield Town. And again, for me, staying with the club in the Championship when, you know, a lot of others would have disappeared and, you know, gone elsewhere and stuff like that as well. And really sad news this week, obviously, that he's going to need an op on his knee. And he pretty much looks like we're going to not see him again in a town shirt. Or the worst thing is not even be able to say goodbye and that as well. And Pozza, I don't know what you felt when you kind of saw that news, but really sad, mate, because let's hope we can maybe produce a miracle and maybe get back. But even then, we're not probably going to be in the ground to say goodbye. It's gutting, really, because last of probably the true pros, really, a guy who, it's been said already, mate, what a ledge.
Yeah, you've probably got him, and, you know, we've obviously got Johnny Ogg as well from that season. Schindler, you know, slotted that penalty home and took us to a place I certainly never thought I would see, Huddersfield Town. And obviously over the season, it wasn't just down to him, but he takes the credit, doesn't he? You know, the man got a podcast named after him. What more could he have ever asked for in his career?
That's the real trophy.
But yeah, he will. If he is out to end the season, obviously fans can't get back. It depends on, you know, his next move, I suppose. What is he going to do with life after Huddersfield Town? Wouldn't it be nice if he does move on to, you know, I would presume he'll go back to Germany maybe. Let's get a friendly organised with whoever he goes to, you know, start the next season and get everybody down and, you know, almost like a testimonial, I suppose, if that's what he does, or, you know, if he stays in England. I don't know where his family are based at the moment. If they're back in Germany, I could probably see him going back there. A friendly against whoever he goes to would be, you know, a fitting tribute, maybe donate takings to Blue and White Foundation or, you know, something similar to that. But if we never actually get to see him in a town shirt again, then it will be sad, really, and, you know, just kind of sums it up at the moment, doesn't it? That.
Yeah. Oh God, we're ending on a sad note. Yes, I'm
welling up here, guys. I'm welling up.
You still watch that penalty back, Si? If you want a bit of excitement, a bit of like that happiness, because it does pop up now and again, done it on that Sky Sports Football when you're kind of looking on your channels is there, and you just fast forward it, don't you, to that moment, really, don't you? Because it's trash, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame, and I'm sure we'll come and say this as and when he does leave, but wish him all the best, kind of whatever the future holds. Assuming he does leave, I think everyone probably kind of accepted that now. Shame that he goes out in the way that he may well do. I kind of harbour hopes he can find his way onto the bench for that final game, by which point we'll be safe and maybe have a cameo kind of 10-20 minute appearance at the end. You're right to say, obviously, Pozza, that Hoggy will remain. Good news, he signed a new contract, but it really will signal the end of an era for me, the end of kind of what has been a really kind of roller coaster of kind of 3 and 4 years as a Town fan. But at his best, he was really good. Kind of remembering that first Championship season and in the first Premier League, he at his best, I have not seen a centre half for Huddersfield Town read the game better than what he does. He's not necessarily the fastest defender, not necessarily the best passer of a ball or the kind of top defender. What's that? I just say his positioning sense was perfect, and his time of the tackle and just epitomised everything the club was about, really, didn't it? But I'll shut up now, Kosi, and let you wrap up.
Yeah, Brady, have the last word, mate, on the legend.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Like, the word legends gets thrown around a lot, but he's a beautiful man as well. Like that's gorgeous man. I actually met him in that promotion season at an Indian restaurant, and he was like lovely and chatty, and I got my picture with him. I look incredibly awkward in it. I'll try and dig it up. But he was happy to talk to me, and he just seemed like really excited. I think it was after we'd won, so probably that's why. But he's there in his town tracksuit, and
really, he had his shirt off more than you, didn't he?
I know, yeah. Well, to be fair, he's got the body, mate, unlike me. So there we go. But yeah, I mean, absolute legend. Obviously, he didn't have the best season last season, but who did, if we're being honest. But what he's done to this club is amazing, and I think it will be really sad if we don't get to see him play in a town shirt. But I'm sure the club will sort a good send off somehow. I'd like to think so. And like you say, if it's a testimonial, or as someone said in the comments, get him to stay on as a coach, like someone did on Footy Manager. So maybe he could come back. Who knows?
Bayern Munich at home, pre-season friendly, all fans back again. That sounds a good. Pozza, you've got a good idea there, mate.
It sounds funny because you sort of introduced that as being a bit of a sad thing to talk about that, but Sai said in his little bit there that it's been a rollercoaster few years, and actually talking about Schindler and that season, and it does bring a smile to your face, doesn't it? Oh yeah, we've thrown it away and we've knackered it all up, but did anybody ever think that we'd ever see up like that? And that for me is what it's all about, isn't it? That's being a football fan. And one thing that's brought home to me as COVID is, I know a lot of Leeds, I don't know a lot of Leeds fans who don't go, but like your Man United fans, your Liverpool fans, and they tell you how much they care about it from watching it on the television screen. And for me, anyway, I've not had that this season. Yeah, you still get mad and come on here and rant about it, but there's no better than being in ground, is there? That season it'll just never be forgotten. And in a way, you can almost sort of level it out with how bad we've been now. And you take the highs and you put up with the lows, don't you, in the hope that the highs will come again. And to try end on a positive note. Yeah, we're in a bit of a shit situation at the moment, but who would ever thought we'd get to that Premier League? And who knows, it might not, but it might happen again. And that's what keeps you going as a fan, innit? That's what keeps you going. And we just got to stick with it, haven't we? Just got to stick with it.
I defy any town fan to not watch that penalty shootout and still get goosebumps. Like I know what's happening. I just
I still think he's going to miss me. When El Hadji goes down, he's close to it, and I'm thinking he's going to miss.
Nice way to end, guys. Obviously, Preston North End on Saturday, so we're going to finally break that overdue. We're going to win our first time. I think I had, I wasn't even born. I had like 19, what is it? He always gets struck, so is it 1968 or something ridiculous? And then next Tuesday, we're back. Same time, same place. Birmingham City. It's a huge game. So anyone's thinking of watching something else, no, you're watching it with us. You're going through the torture. You're back on here next Tuesday night, and we will return. So, God, I had it all written out. Building from Swansea, fantastic football, gone to Derby, first time for years on Ward, and see you later. Guys, thanks very much.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the car back to Huddersfield.